everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and this is Barbara Talks Some More. So if you're tuning into this channel for the first time, welcome, okay? This is my second channel. I have my first channel called Barbara Talks, okay? So that's my original channel. Over there, I go over everything connected to the astrology world and metaphysical world, okay? And I go live over there. I always love chatting with you guys, meeting you guys virtually, that is, and answering whatever questions you guys may have, okay? So definitely check out that channel, subscribe to both, make sure you like, share, all the good stuff, okay? Thanks so much, you guys, in advance. Now, over here on this channel, I'm doing public figure natal chart readings. When I had originally started this channel, I thought maybe I was going to talk about some other things over here, but I've been pretty much covering everything I want to talk about on my original channel. So this one's just kind of been the public figure natal chart readings. Now, I've been doing the public figure natal chart readings, and I've been doing synastry readings as well, okay? So feel free to comment below, you guys, who you would like me to cover, okay? I do have to hook into the energy of the individual a lot of the time for these readings, and that's why sometimes it might seem random who I am reading, but there's always some kind of reason, okay? Usually the energy is being pulled closer, to the earth plane, okay? A lot of these celebrities are chilling in the astral plane. Fortunately, a lot of them don't reincarnate out, especially, if they are in our awareness, if they are in our consciousness, and that's the whole struggle, okay? With like the reincarnation loop and the connection to fame sometimes, right? And that's what selling out is connected to, okay? They don't fully get to exit the Earth's atmosphere is really what it is, okay? They linger somewhere around the Earth's atmosphere. So, there's probably somewhere that they go, right? But they don't fully exit. I hope that makes sense. And then, when people are starting to think about them, or, the people are starting to come into other people's awareness, consciousness, and so on and so forth, right? Sometimes there's going to be a movie about that person. Sometimes someone, is writing a book, like whatever it is. Sometimes someone's about to speak, right? That energy is being pulled closer to the earth plane. And that's usually when I hook into the individual. There's always a reason, okay? I've been hooking into Brittanymurphy. I've been telling you guys for a while now, okay? It's been almost a month that I've been hooked into this energy. And when I hook into the energy, it's kind of persisting until I do the reading. So, this is my outlet to clear the energy out. So let's see what comes through in this video today. Now, also, if you guys would like your own natal chart reading, synastry reading, progressed natal chart reading, mini natal chart reading, mini synastry reading, okay? The information for all of that is going to be in the description box below, okay? You guys can go on my website, select the readings tab. You guys can pick which reading you guys would like, and then, an email window should pop up, okay? That's how you guys basically, contact me to get the reading done, right? The readings are a video that I send you guys. It's more so an audio, because it's kind of like this, literally it's the same format, okay? But today, it's going to be closer to my mini natal chart readings, okay? Because, I'm not going to be going in depth, but when I do, the full-blown readings, I'm covering every single thing, okay? And those videos are usually longer. But anyway, so I sent you the private link, okay? And, that's how you guys can, watch your videos as many times as you'd like. So that's basically the whole process with getting the reading. Now, the other thing that I do have to mention here too in the intro is, everything in these videos is alleged, okay? It is for educational purposes only, okay? These are just, things that I'm hooking into, based off of what I'm seeing in the charts here, okay? And of course, with these celebrities, you never know, are these their real birthdays or not, right? So, we're just gonna go based off the fact as if they are. Now, here's the other thing too. If you have some of these energies or aspects in your natal chart, doesn't mean it's always going to play out the same way, okay? There's a light side and a shadow side to absolutely every single energy in a natal chart, right? And it's always a combination of things. One time I heard, I wish I had saved it, okay? But who knows, maybe somebody even made it up. They were basically giving this like statistic, okay? It was like a little picture with like numbers on it. But they were giving a statistic of how rare, okay, a natal chart is based on, all of the combinations in a natal chart, right? And another time also, I heard that there's up to 40,000 pieces of information in a natal chart. Now, you guys, you can take that all with a grain of salt, right? The idea is there though, okay? A lot of information in a natal chart, okay? And, every natal chart is rare, and it depends on the combinations to see how the energies are going to play out. So that being said, it doesn't always mean it's going to play out the same way for your own natal charts if you have those energies. So that's pretty much what's going on with that. So today we're going to be looking at Brittanymurphy. Like I mentioned, I've been hooked into her energy for about a month now, maybe even a little over a month, It's so interesting, when I hook into these individuals' energies. Now, by the way, this isn't a channeling video or anything of that sort. I'm looking at the energy around her, okay, and around the situation, specifically around her death, okay? That's kind of what I've been really hooking into. So, these aren't going to be messages from beyond, okay? It's not like I'm talking to her and giving you guys messages, okay? It's not that type of video. We're just literally looking over the natal chart, again, educational purposes only, and in general the energy around the situation. Now, there's already some things that I've been hooking into, okay, just psychically. Before I get into the natal chart aspect of things, first and foremost, I always get surprised when I look up her cause of death. It always says pneumonia or like something mysterious or whatever. It says all these different things, but personally what I hook into for her every single time is drugs, overdose, energetically, but I don't think it was self-inflicted, honestly. I will say that much, okay? Now here it says untreated pneumonia, severe iron deficiency anemia, and multiple drug drug intoxication. Okay, so it's interesting. Is this like a Mandela thing? Okay, because I swear before they never mentioned this drug intoxication thing. That's also what I've always hooked into for her. Okay, some form of like drug overdose, drug related, but not like her doing it to herself intentionally. Like I always felt like there was other people involved. Now, you know, it's so interesting. I kept looking into Brittanymurphy and PDIDDY. Okay, again, allegedly. I'm kind of trying to, you know, go between the lines here, maybe not mentioning every single person's name. Okay, so you guys are gonna have to spell out that person's name, that person who was in the news. It's really interesting to me because I feel like there's some sort of connection here between the two of them, because that was the first thing that I hooked into. Of course, you know, hearing that she died from quote unquote pneumonia. A lot of people around him, you know, died from quote unquote pneumonia allegedly, and it's just so interesting because then I went to type it into Google because I was like, okay, let me see, like, because I was curious because I was hooking into them too, and I was like, did they date? But then I'm like, that would be such a random couple, and of course we know a lot of his history already, but like the people that he's been with. Anyways, I literally just typed in Brittanymurphy and then his name, and then literally here it says there's a bunch of conspiracy theories floating around, you know, the internet, the webs, where people are speculating that, you know, he was connected to Brittanymurphy. So I wouldn't be surprised if some information is about to come out soon, because her energy once again is being pulled in closer, okay, into this earth realm. Now, you know, the other part of the story here is, you know, she used to date Ashton Kutcher and he was good friends with P. Diddy, right? So I just feel like as I hook into all of this, there's something going on here where she was about to like expose something. It could have even been connected to her ex, Kay Ashton, again, allegedly, right? Just psychically as I hook into this, like there's something going on here because he has like that whole like, you know, trafficking, trying to save people or whatever. I think that that's a cover up. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he was just as involved in a lot of these things, right? Like, not to mention, you know, a lot of his like shady past and, you know, his current spouse and so on and so forth, of like them defending a certain friend. I'm trying to talk between the lines here, so, you know, some of you guys might know what I'm talking about here, you know, when it comes to all of these people and all of these characters in this story. Okay, but, you know, again, she's very young. You know, when she crossed out, she was only 32, and, you know, it's very like, you know, questionable what's going on here, especially the cause being pneumonia. So I found that really interesting. I did not know that these theories were floating around. So again, maybe it's just like something that's chilling also in the collective's unconscious that I hooked into here between them two. But I wouldn't be surprised because she's been coming up energetically, you know, quite a bit for a while now. So I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of information comes out about her, or somehow her name makes the headlines again, or somehow someone opens up this case again. There's something else going on here, okay? Or maybe like the Ashton person, like something comes out about him and then her being connected to him, or maybe she had something that she had written or wanted to speak. There's like, you know, there's several people involved here, okay? But yes, definitely, you know, cause of death was definitely something nefarious. I can tell you guys that much. And also, again, I do feel like it was a drug overdose, okay? But I feel like it was something that was given to her. Like, I'm actually psychically, as I'm hooking into this, I'm actually seeing even like a syringe, and it's like something that just like automatically shuts people down energetically, where it's like, it just like in one way, shape, or form, like puts them to sleep or something of that sort. Like, that's kind of what I'm hooking into here. Now, the other thing here, okay, so let me give you her birth information. I have her here as November 10th, 1977, okay? So it's interesting, and she's born in Atlanta, Georgia, by the way. It's interesting, I found only one website that had like a potential time of birth, which was 12:16 a.m. It was interesting. I put that in, okay, and I got her as a Leo rising. I don't think that this is accurate, okay? I mean, I could see why, you know, maybe someone thought she's a Leo rising and maybe just guessed, okay, because of the whole acting thing and all of that, but to me, she's very much watery. And she kind of gives me similar vibes to like a Robin Williams, who was also a triple water sign, okay, sun, moon, rising. So for her, I do feel like she could have potentially been a Pisces rising. And then when I started thinking about that, I just kept picking up on late degree Pisces rising, like on the astral energetically, like late degree Pisces rising. So it makes a lot of sense to me if she was a Pisces rising, okay, because then all the Scorpio energy in her chart would have gone into the A house. Sun in Scorpio, moon in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, okay, and then she's got, you know, that Uranus in Scorpio as well, okay, so she's part of that subset of the generation here. Now her Jupiter is in Cancer. You know, she does sometimes give me Cancerian energy too, okay, but I do feel like, I think I was telling you guys on one of my lives too, it makes sense that the Jupiter's in Cancer because then it's trining, right, a lot of her Scorpio energy here. So that could be maybe what I was picking up on. But, you know, because she looks kind of more so like on the innocent side, cutesy side, right, like, and even just like the way that she looks, because usually like people who are Cancer risings are usually a little bit fuller, okay, like the way that they look physically. Now here's the other thing, right, you know, there could be a Neptune aspect to the ascendant too. I mean, we could sit here all day speculating, you know, as to what her rising sign was, but just kind of like how she looks cutesy to me, you know, it's like she either gives me Libra rising or Pisces rising, like when I really look at her, okay, especially because she's like very watery. I do see the Cancer in her a lot. There's a deep mother wound here, okay, I was hooking into as well. before I started looking at the natal chart itself. I mean, she does have the moon in Scorpio, but to me, for some reason, it was like the Jupiter in Cancer, especially when I put her rising sign as Pisces. The Jupiter in Cancer went into the 4th house and it's retrograde. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm curious to know, see, this is the thing. I don't know every single detail about every single person, right? I'm curious to know about her upbringing, like what was going on with her family life, okay? Because there's very much like an orphan energy here, abandoned energy, feeling kind of like, she's just like the only person, in the world, but like not in like a, she's the center of the world type of way, more so like, nobody to lean on energetically. So interesting. I just pulled up this Wikipedia article now, and it says that her parents divorced when she was 3 years old, and then the father was arrested. I'm not going to read word for word here, okay? You guys can look it up yourselves, but here basically says that the father, was arrested on charges of drug possession. He was in prison. He had dealings with, some shady individuals, okay? Some criminal activities going on here. Again, you guys can look it up yourselves. I'm just, paraphrasing here off of Wikipedia. I wouldn't be surprised, okay? Sun in Scorpio, the father up to some shady business, okay? When you have the sun in Scorpio, the father absolutely, especially if it is in the 8th house, okay? If she is a Pisces rising, I could see this. I could see her having a lot of this 8th house energy, like Scorpio on top of the 8th house, okay? Because of the fact that, again, it's like there's a lot going on here with her, with like trauma, and like even like her being involved with drugs, and like maybe she was drug addicted as well. That part I'm not sure about, if she was actually addicted to the drugs or not, but again, it's very Scorpio, okay? Because there's a lot of wounding here that takes place within a Scorpionic individual, overall trauma, all these things. Now what's interesting is the PD person, okay, he is also a Scorpio, okay? So there's something going on here, like with them too. Absolutely. This is so interesting because I was literally hooking into it, and then I like Googled it, and I guess other people have speculated the same thing. So let's see what ends up happening if some information ends up coming out. But yes, going back to like the home and like the upbringing, there's like more so of a mother wound here. I don't really pick up on too much of a father wound for her. For some reason, it's this Jupiter in Cancer. If again, she is a Pisces rising and it's in the 4th house, it's retrograde too, coming back to resolve karma with the mother. Now it's interesting because again, the father is not in the picture, right? So you would think that, this individual would have a father wound, right? Oh, there it is. Okay. Chiron opposing the moon. Okay. See, I knew it. I'm always picking up on these things and I'm looking for it in the chart. Sometimes one of the parents, like when they leave, sometimes I understand that that's going to create, a wound or an abandonment wound in the person, right? But sometimes there's more karma to clear, let's say with a parent that's always there, always present, always with you. Now, the sun and moon being in Scorpio, I find that really interesting because sometimes, not always, it depends on the energy. It could either symbolize, like to me at least, that, the parents are on the same page, they raise the kid in the same way, or it could sometimes symbolize that, one parent took on both roles, okay? Sometimes both parents can be in the house, but one parent can take on both roles too. You know what I mean? So it's so interesting that the father also struggled, with like drugs and all this kind of stuff and all this like sketchy behavior, right? Because it's like, sun in Scorpio, like the sun is the father and he behaves this way. Now, it's interesting. There isn't too much information on the mother, but the moon is in Scorpio and it's in the 8th house. So, there's still something going on here, okay, with the mother too. Maybe she was more hidden, okay? Maybe with, maybe she had different types of addictive patterns or tendencies or something of that sort taking place. But, Brittanymurphy herself, just like as I hook into her energy, I definitely feel the Pisces in her because there's definitely like, empathetic soul, too sensitive for this world. And, unfortunately, if these people, aren't able to clear the emotions, purge it, have, let's say, healthy coping mechanisms, they might turn to drugs, especially if Pisces is involved, right? It could be sometimes Scorpio, absolutely. But, sometimes it's more so that Pisces energy that's pulling you into substances, wanting to be out of body. Scorpio energy more so creates like the addictive pattern, okay? And, I've spoken about this on my other channel as well, obsessive compulsive tendencies, the way that I see it, they're really connected to Scorpionic behavior, right? Especially in the sense where it's like they're trying to soothe or mask a certain feeling, right? With some sort of, addictive pattern, which is obsessive compulsive, right? I personally think that addiction is connected to obsessive compulsive tendencies, just in the sense where it's like, the compulsion is more so, you trying to soothe some sort of feeling, which is the obsessive energy, right? Something's persisting, something's either irritating you or, you don't want to feel a certain type of way, right? So then you engage in a compulsive behavior. So that's why Scorpio deals with addiction. Now, it's interesting. She's got her Venus in Scorpio at 0 degrees. She got a pretty intense chart because she has all of these squares taking place here. Mars in Leo, okay, squaring a lot of the Scorpio energy, which, by the way, you guys, not sure if I mentioned at the beginning of this video, but I look up to 10 degrees of an orb. Some people, look up to only 3 or whatever. They can be very strict. They only want the tight orbs, right? I look up to 10. And then sometimes, honestly, if I'm hooking into the energy, I'll open it up to 15 to see, like, if it's there, what I'm hooking into, okay? But typically I look up to 10 degrees of an orb. So it's interesting. This Mars and Leo energy is pretty much squaring her whole chart, all the Scorpionic energy. Now, a few things that are interesting here. You know, when I put in that other birth time, okay, on the one website that I found, okay, it was like 12 a.m. or whatever, like 12:16 a.m. They had her as a Leo rising, okay? Like I mentioned, I could see this, right? This energy, like in terms of the acting and all of that. But at the same time, you know, the Mars sign sometimes also gives undertone energies of like the identity and how you're going to express yourself to like the solar plexus, right? You know, that's sometimes how I see this energy. So maybe whoever guessed this, because again, you know, it's just on one website, so I'm not sure if they guessed it or maybe it is accurate, who knows, right? But, you know, just as I hook into her energy, I do feel more so, again, Piscean energy, right? Like a lot of the time you'll see Pisces in the big three, you know, on screens, and it's just like her look to me looks like that. Now, of course, you know, Neptune is in Sag, so I mean, if she was a Leo rising, you know, Neptune could have been trining her rising sign, right? That could give her the Piscean undertones as well. But again, you know, we could spend all day here debating what her rising sign could have been, right? But either way, if her rising sign was in Leo, okay, this is also going to be squaring a lot of the Scorpio energy in her chart. So here's what's interesting with the Leo Scorpio square, okay? When you have Leo Scorpio, there's like a huge karma connected to children, okay? Especially because it's a square. Scorpio energy, because it deals with the reproductive system, okay? There could always be something going on here, okay? Whether it's like with fertility and so on and so forth. And by the way, again, this isn't going to be for every single person. Here's what I'm going to say, okay? Scorpio is a very feminine sign. It depends how you deal with the feminine energy, right? If there's something connected to especially the feeling of shame or, you know, deeply internalized, you know, misogyny, okay? And that's for both genders, right? Internally, like when it comes to the feminine or anything of that sort, and this is the feminine energy within, it could absolutely, you know, manifest on the body. That's the way that I see all things, right? So, you know, that's why Scorpio is prone to these types of things, okay? Is really, really what it is. But especially, you know, in combination with Leo, Leo deals with kids. Anytime I've seen Leo in someone's chart, okay? Sun, moon, rising, especially, even in this case, she's got Mars, and let's say she is a Leo rising. There is always a specific karma connected to children for Leo energy, and she's even got her Saturn in Leo at the 29th degree. And it's so interesting. In this quick article just now, you know, on Wikipedia that I saw, this like blurb here about, you know, the home and the upbringing of the family, she said that her mom was always like very supportive of her creative career, but like the Saturn in Leo would actually tell me otherwise is really what it is. Now the Saturn could be, you know, the father, the Saturn could be, you know, the dominant masculine role in your life, okay? It could be, you know, authoritative figures, teachers, managers, right? This is usually someone who gets restricted in the area of creativity. When you have Saturn in Leo, and then if she was a Leo rising, that would put her Saturn in Leo in the first house, which means she would have had a restriction on the expression of the self, which again kind of conflicts with that whole story. This would have been someone who's overcoming, right? Trying to be, right? Someone who is creative and, you know, express themselves, okay? Versus, you know, having a parent that's like very accepting of you being like this, right? So I'm not sure what happened with the father after, and if there was any contact with the father afterwards. She does have Chiron square at Mars, okay? So there is a little bit of tension here, or like a wound connected to like masculine energy and masculines, okay? But just as I hook into her energy, the main karma here and the main energy is connected to the mother, okay? Is really what it is. Sun conjunct Uranus, okay? So there's the father kind of just like abruptly leaving and kind of like going off maybe to do his own thing. Maybe he was inconsistent in her life overall, but I just find it interesting. I just keep being pulled back to that Saturn in Leo at 29 degrees. I know this is generational, so she will share this energy with, you know, a bunch of people in her generation, right? Her subset of the generation with the generational energies. You know, the sign in here is always a subset, and the house is going to be the area of life where this energy affects you, right? The most. Now, if she is a Pisces rising, you know, that would put her Saturn in the 6th house. And, you know, I read something online. She was anemic or something of that sort. So again, you know, if she did struggle with like iron deficiency and all these things, Saturn in the 6th, I could see that as well. But over here, there's some theories. And look, one of these theories, there's like a quote unquote poisoning allegation. And the father, interestingly enough, it says he alleged that his daughter was poisoned possibly by the mother. See, it's just so interesting that she spoke so highly of the mother though. And then here it says that some people are trying to say that this is a smear campaign, but I just find it interesting that this is coming up, okay? I mean, you know, obviously it's going to be a he said, she said type of situation. I really like, as I hook into this, I honestly don't think it's connected to the mother directly, okay? This could be just like their own like separate beef, like why he's saying that. But I do find it interesting that he would say that, and then like she spoke so highly of the mother, okay? And at the same time, I'm hooking into her energy, and there's actually a mother wound here, okay? There's actually a wound around the mother. I do think that maybe she was trying to, in one way, shape, or form, gain the approval of the mother. Maybe her saying that, you know, the mother was really supportive of her career and all these things, like, you know, maybe that was, you know, just like what she wished for it to be or something of that sort. Because again, you know, if she does have any of these Neptunian energies, of course, there it is, Mercury, Neptune, okay? That makes a lot of sense. It's a little bit further out here, you guys, like it's closer to the 15 degree mark. But, you know, again, Mercury and Neptune sometimes, you know, talks about how they wish things would be, you know, or like kind of like, you know, really romanticizes things. But yes, there's a deep wound here connected to the mother, okay? You know, I really do feel it. It could be the Jupiter in Cancer and the 4th house. It could be this because it's trining the moon. Like, because when I first hooked into her energy, I was just picking up on so much Cancer energy from her. And Cancer energy is kind of like the abandoned child. Maybe I'm even going to title this video that, okay? That's just the vibe she gives me. Like, it's this energy of just like an abandoned child, you know, like feeling like, you know, they're just like alone in the world. And, you know, it's so interesting because it's like when someone has Cancer in their chart, usually they do carry that energy from past lives in general. Like, there's always something going on around family, okay, when people have like Cancer. I know it's Jupiter in Cancer, but Jupiter in Cancer is literally aspecting everything here. Some things are a little bit wider of an orb, okay, like the Jupiter to the sun, but you know, Jupiter moon trine, she's got Jupiter Venus, she's got Jupiter Uranus, that is a little bit more generational, and then Jupiter sun is again a little bit wider, right? But it's like for some reason all this energy like focuses back to the Jupiter. Like I feel it in my solar plexus, and it's just like that's where her power was being siphoned and like taken away from her. It's this Cancer energy. That's literally the first thing I had hooked into when I started hooking into her energy, okay, was this Cancer energy like within her, to the point where I thought maybe she was a Cancer rising, okay? But you know, again, the more that I kind of started, you know, looking at her and like analyzing, I don't think she's a Cancer rising. Just like, again, her look could either be Pisces rising, or again, Neptune aspecting the ascendant, or even maybe a Libra rising too, just because of like the way that she looks. It's this sweet look. That's usually Pisces rising, or sometimes even Libra rising too. It would make sense with all the acting. But anyways, so that's kind of what I'm getting here. So she's got the karma here connected to kids, okay? It's interesting, you know, every time I think of her energy, I think of that movie where she was with that little girl, kind of stuck in her inner child. Like I do feel like that movie probably resonated with her a lot, or like the script definitely resonated with her a lot. Because she's part of the subset with the Uranus and Scorpio, all the Scorpio energy, like the Uranus does create a lot of instability. So, you know, the father could have been unstable. Again, you know, we know that he left, he wasn't consistent, but the mother too, okay? It's literally so close to the moon, okay? There could have been a lot of moving around. The home could have been unstable overall, okay? Venus, instability, and the love life. Now, what's interesting to me is we'd have to like sit down and like look and see what's going on with Diddy's chart. Like, what degree of a Scorpio is he, and where does he fit into her Scorpio stellium here? Because the Venus and Scorpio just keeps like jumping out at me, but connected to him. Let's see. Now I'm curious. Yeah, literally his sun. Again, you know, it's a little further of an orb here. Yeah, it would be conjuncting her Venus. It would literally be right, you know, in between this whole stellium here for her. So again, you know, this is all speculation and alleged, but it is very interesting that I hooked into his energy and then I Googled that, and like other people were like speculating similar things. So, you know, since there's so many people thinking the same thing, I mean, you know, people could be potentially hooking into something, right? But again, of course, allegedly. So that's pretty much that. And like, it's interesting. So she got the karma with kids, you know, with her. I think that that was a grief for her too, that, you know, she didn't end up having kids. And, you know, I think she spent a lot of her time trying to heal her inner child, okay, especially with the Saturn being at 29 degrees. Also, again, the Leo square Scorpio, okay, in a chart is always karma around children, okay? Leo on its own is karma around children, but like when you have the Leo square Scorpio, okay, it's like, again, this could be things like fertility issues, for example. I'm not trying to speed this into existence for anyone, by the way. Like, again, you know, different things manifest differently for different people. It depends how much like people internalize certain energies, and do they go into divine or the shadow version. Kind of her saving grace in her chart from all this like Scorpio energy, or at least like what gives her the break, was, I think, the acting, the Mars in Leo, and then also her Mercury in Sag, okay? I think she did still have some form of an like optimistic mindset because she's got Mercury in Sagittarius, you know. I do feel like, you know, throughout her life, just like as I'm hooking into these energies, that she walked around a lot, you know, feeling misunderstood, feeling out of place, you know, imposter syndrome is really what it is. I do think that even though, you know, she enjoyed acting, you know, there's still this like energy of still feeling like she wasn't good enough, and that sometimes is like the Leo wound overall. And the other thing for her too here, okay, what I'm hooking into is she's got a lot of karma connected to relationships, okay, actually, because her North Node is in Libra. And again, if, you know, the ascendant is Pisces, North Node would have been in the 7th house, okay, good chunk Pluto. So a lot of transformation and change through relationships. She's got a Chiron wound in relationships here, Chiron opposing Venus, okay. So, you know, there's a lot going on here, and she's got a bunch of Venus aspects taking place here. Not to mention her Venus is literally 0 degrees Scorpio. If she's a Pisces rising, okay, you know, her Venus would be in the 8th house. So, you know, there's a lot of karma here going on with relationships. So that's unresolved for her, okay, because pretty much she was like taken out too early. So, you know, she will be reincarnating again is really, really what it is, okay, to try to resolve whatever's going on the relationship aspect of things. I do think that in this lifetime, again, a lot of her energy was siphoned because of the family situation, you know, trying to probably either constantly either gain the love of the mother or the approval. Because when you have a moon in Scorpio, like there's always some level of unavailability from the mother to the level that the Scorpio moon individual is looking for, right? That's kind of like the thing here. Like the mother could have been, you know, present in other ways, but it's like the Scorpio moon individual is looking for a mother that is psychic herself, probably in the best case scenario, a medium herself, someone who's intuitive, someone who's able to hold space for her emotions, you know, someone who's able to create a safe space. Safety is a big one here, okay? Otherwise, you know, Scorpio moon goes into their shell. It's a very sensitive energy in general, Scorpio, okay? Sometimes it just takes one time, okay, for someone to, you know, not give them kind of like the reaction that they're looking for, especially if they're sharing, in this case, the feelings and the emotions. If it's in the moon, they go into their shell. So I do feel like she was like still trying to, in one way, shape, or form, make the mother proud, but like get the attention of the mother, but she didn't get that emotional attention that she was looking for. Maybe she wasn't even aware, okay, especially if she started going into the drug aspect of things, because again, these energies are intense, especially when you have Scorpio in your chart. There's a lot to clear here, okay? It's Pluto, it's generational, okay? Sometimes it's traveling throughout the line, especially if you have it in the moon. And again, she's got all this other Scorpio energy that's taking place in her chart as well. I mean, every Scorpio has the potential to eventually become the alchemist. Maybe if she lived longer, you know, she would have gotten there eventually. But again, Scorpio, again, addiction, right? If they're unaware of what's going on, you know, they tend to go into like staying in the underworld, but like in the darkness aspect of things. So that's like the whole struggle. And, you know, if you guys are Scorpios yourselves and you're tuning into this, check out my Scorpio 8 house playlist on my other channel, okay? So I'm going to wrap up this reading here. This is pretty much what I'm getting, you know, at first glance here. You know, it's really the mother wound here that's kind of really standing out to me. That's the main name of the game. That's where her energy was siphoned, right? That's where her quote unquote power was like taken away from her, okay? Overly focusing maybe on the mother, or like, again, the attention of the mother. It could have been subconscious too. And that's actually the person who she was trying to resolve the karma with in this lifetime, and all the karma with the relationships, okay, that she wasn't able to fully resolve. So I do see her reincarnating once again. And of course, all the other things that I mentioned at the beginning of this reading, the alleged, okay, ideas, let's call them ideas, that, you know, I was hooking into, but also I guess other people were hooking into as well. So you guys, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video on Brittanymurphy, okay, and her natal chart. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.